Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. My name is Sarah, and today my co-host Carrie Bennett and I are going to be making these complex topics of quantum biology and circadian biology understandable to the everyday person. Thank you so much for tuning in. We ask that if you are listening on audio only, that you take a moment to leave us up to a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It will help to get the show out to more people. And before we jump into today's topic, just a quick reminder to head down to the show notes and check out my free resources as well as Carrie's free resources. We also do have courses on a variety of topics. If you are hoping to dive deeper, Carrie and I both have practitioner courses available as well for anyone who wants to begin to bring these topics to their clients and help them to implement these strategies into their daily lives. So check those out. We also have a co-taught course called Quantum Fertility that is available that allows people and practitioners to work on their fertility using these principles of quantum biology and circadian biology. Again, thank you so much for listening or watching today's show, whichever one you are doing. And let's go ahead and jump into it now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. We had one topic planned, but we just decided on a different one after our conversation before the conversation, because it's come to my attention that people don't really understand hormetic stressors on the body. And I think we need to talk about this. So where do you want to start, Carrie?
You need to give people a bigger intro in terms of why exactly we're talking about this. Sorry.
Here's the thing. Like, a lot of people know about me. I did the carnivore diet for 2 years, and it was helpful really for the first year. And then that second year, I started experiencing a lot of strange things like histamine intolerance, weight gain, inflammation, things I thought, I did this diet to get rid of this. And now why are all these things coming back?
And can I put in there too, with what I see is low leptin. I see hormone imbalances, right? Those sorts of things as well.
Thyroid going down.
Yep.
And honestly, I was so bought into the Dogma and so drilled in with the people, because there's a lot of people in that community that I'm still friends with, that I still respect, that I still like. And I was so in there with them. I might have stayed if it wasn't for the fact that I was trying to get pregnant, and that diet was failing me miserably when it came to fertility. And I'm friends with Dr. Kiltz. I know Dr. Kiltz. He's a great guy. He says carnivore, beef, butter, eggs, bacon, and ice cream to get pregnant. I've seen it work for people, but what they were eating before, it's all context dependent. So for me, again, and for a lot of the women and a lot of clients you work with, I work with, long term, it's not necessarily going to be a hormone optimizing diet. It should be a therapeutic tool. So the context of this conversation is that there is someone basically demonizing eating half of an apple, saying it's too much sugar and it's going to create visceral fat, half of an apple. And this person has almost 1 million followers, and it's there's a lot of parroting going on. There's a lot of fear going on. And I just think that we need to have a bigger conversation about this sort of topic. In particular, one of the comments that I got that I was reading to Carrie, because I was just reading her some of the comments under the post, and maybe we can break down some of these.
So and talk brave about to post stuff like so brave, way braver than me. But go ahead. Let's read a couple of them here.
I got to pull them up again because I had closed it down. But essentially, there was one person that was basically saying that I was caught in with a dogma that says you need to eat high carbs and high sugar all year round, which is not true. And that eating polyphenols is the same thing as smoking because it activates the NRF2 pathway, and that it's a pro-oxidant. And yeah, he was essentially comparing eating polyphenols to smoking. And I kind of lost my mind a little bit because That's not how it works. And antioxidants, polyphenols, they have a hormetic stressor. It's a hormetic effect on the body. So it's a good stressor. And it does this without flooding the body with carcinogens. So
Right.
that was the main.
Well, so yeah, for that particular argument, it's like the idea is that these polyphenols are these one of the chemical components of natural components, right? Natural chemicals produced by plants. And that when humans consume polyphenols, they create bursts of reactive oxygen species in the body. And that, and what this individual, it sounds like was doing was saying, well, smoking also results in bursts of reactive oxygen species in the body. And so therefore, eating an apple is the same as smoking a cigarette. And as you said, as you said, with smoking, number one, there are massive amounts of chemicals, carcinogens that you're consuming. So that's not the same thing. And number two, the poor assumption is that reactive oxygen species are bad when they're given in a hormetically beneficial way. Exercise creates more reactive oxygen species. Fasting can get
therapy.
And so all of these things are called hormetic stressors because the body is exposed to something that creates a little bit of stress. And then the body says, I don't want to experience that level of stress again. So let me build resilience. And so in the 24 to 48 hours afterwards, the body will adapt, maybe by generating more robust NRF2 response or antioxidant response, maybe by, for exercise, repairing muscles, building more mitochondria, or making mitochondria more adaptive. So there's a lot of different things that the body can do in response to a stressor. And in fact, multiple studies have shown that when you have cells that have been exposed to these types of stressors and have been forced to adapt, that these little stressors, that when they experience a massive stressor, their survivability is massively increased and improved compared to cells that were never given those stressors in the first place. And so it's just a weird argument, in my opinion. Even to the extent I was talking about before we recorded, like there's actually studies, this is unfortunate, but that showed that with Chernobyl, there was a zone of literally nuclear radiation exposure where those people had better health outcomes in terms of less disease and more longevity than the people outside of that sphere who got no radiation exposure. And that's because that certain amount of radiation that they were exposed to, again, acted as a hormetic stressor. Sunlight too. Ultraviolet light can also
bring sunlight in.
Right. And so that's the thing. It's like, that's why we're not like, bathe in intense ultraviolet light all the time, because with hormetic stressors, you only get the benefit in the adaptation when you remove the stressor. And so apply, remove. Eat an apple, handle the reactive oxygen species, and then go on about your merry little way, having a more robust and resistant cellular adaptation resistant body.
And then the other argument was that fiber was completely non-essential and indigestible and pointless, which I didn't have fiber for 2 years, and I did some gut microbiome testing, and there wasn't much left.
And you and I have talked about, like, we're not huge fans of the microbiome testing because it is so dependent on context, right? Circadian rhythm, time of year, time of day, previous meals,
sunlight exposure on your belly,
it changes, the big but with that, though, is that there are certain bacterial species that are associated with a very healthy gut, or certain ratios of bacterial species. And there are certain forms of fiber, for example, certain resistant starches that have been studied and have been shown to massively increase healthy gut microbiome species, leading to better health outcomes. And like you alluded to when you responded to this individual, there's so much that goes on with the gut-brain axis right there. That's where our microbiome is literally influencing the physiology of the rest of our body.
Right. This is what I said. I said, fiber, while indigestible, isn't pointless. It feeds beneficial gut microbes that influence everything from immune function to mood via the gut-brain axis. And so
Yeah.
there can be some benefits from taking fiber out of your diet. If you have a lot of gut issues, if you have chronic inflammation, if you have leaky gut, it can help to give it a rest. But that shouldn't,
Crohn's, you see, those types
yeah,
of things can be very temporarily very
temporarily,
beneficial. Yeah.
but eventually we have to get the system, the terrain healthy enough so it should be able to handle fiber, apples, polyphenols, antioxidants. I mean, because there are benefits to all of these, and then it said sugar, because half of an apple apparently is too much sugar. It's a toxin. Sugar is context dependent, in my opinion. And this was another thing that we were going to talk about, is the UV index and how that's correlated to gut microbiome and how it's correlated to what's growing outside. So if the UV index is high enough for apples to grow, guess what also changes? Our gut microbiome, our thyroid function, our hormones,
insulin sensitivity, GLP-4 receptor sensitivity. Yeah.
It goes up with the UV index going up. And so, it's not a toxin, it's fuel. And it's the dose and the timing and the light environment that really make the most difference. It's not.
Well, and mitochondrial capacity, right? Like, do you have mitochondria that are healthy enough in the first place? And so there's so much,
there's so much context, and to have people afraid of eating apples now is just really problematic, because people love this mean, authoritative voice that's coming out, and they just want to be told what to do. It's like plugging everything into AI and like depending on AI to teach you everything is the same thing. You're doing it with these people that are like telling you these things that are maybe like 1/3 of the way true, if that. And it just, I don't know. I see the end result of these sorts of things are the women that come to me with they're like, and it's a lot of women in perimenopause and menopause.
Yes.
They aren't sleeping. They are not sleeping. They're in this cortisol dominant state. They're not sleeping and they can't lose weight. And they're having all these other issues like frozen shoulder, like their hormones are completely tanked.
Yep.
Nervous
system is with it comes nervous system dysregulation, because if you can't eat half an apple, oh gosh, I mean, the world's an awful place. It's just. Oh yeah, and the most interesting thing, and I don't know if the original post, because I didn't see it, indicated that the issue with an apple is the glyphosate potentially, right?
Correct. That's where I would be, because that was another thing that came up in the post, because this is another thing, this particular person who's scaring people from eating carrots and apples. And I'm sorry, can we just all get on the same page that we don't need to be eating Doritos and Mountain Dew?
We like low-hanging fruit. There's some low-hanging fruit there.
Can we huddle in here? Okay. Let's just stop eating McDonald's and Doritos and Mountain Dew. Like, that's what 95% of people are doing. We don't need to get people afraid of more natural foods. Yeah, we can have a conversation about glyphosate. But yeah, that was another comment, is someone that was like, what is your thought of these foods are all being engineered to have more sugar, be sweeter, and they're not the same plants that they were thousands of years ago. I'm like, no, that's how agriculture works. If you're worried about that, you need to make sure that your farmer, that there's not glyphosate being spread or sprayed on your crops. Like, that's where you need to really look. You don't want to go with GMO. You don't want glyphosate. Stick to organic, stick to local. Yeah, the fruit's going to look different. It's going to be smaller. Then
it will be less sweet. Like, a locally grown organic apple is going to be like this, and like a tennis ball. And certainly at the grocery store you can find these two apples that fit, like literally, and they just there's no fiber. I know, they melt in your mouth. They're super sweet, right? So no, I get where that's coming from, but my point is also too, it's like, well, nothing is the same as it was 2,000 years ago. So we got to kind of put things into context. Even the meat, right? Even the meat that you're hunting is not the same as it was 2000, because the environment is different. So then I want to make a body that is resilient and adaptable, that is metabolically flexible with the appropriately with the seasons, in order to then be able to I mean, I don't know. I've done the apple mono diet just to see what it felt like. And I felt freaking awesome. I want to be able to handle eating multiple apples a day, right?
Yeah.
And not have it be an issue in terms of accumulating visceral fat. Like that to me,
Right.
like, I don't know. Like you said, like if you would have told me that a Snickers bar and Sour Patch Kids were going to be doing that, I'd been like, heck yeah, I'm totally on board with you there.
We're not eating that. That's not on the plan.
But an apple, just to me, but you, and unfortunately, Sarah, you get this too, right? And I used to be this way. You used to be this way. But then you get people who are really hyper focused on super inconsequential things. Like
Right.
what apple has the least sugar? So maybe we're going to have half an apple 3 times a week, not every day. So, but which apple is it? The Granny Smith apple or is it the Gala apple? Is it, but it, and so then it's just like, gosh, people, like, let's talk about the bigger picture here and what I think is more important and more foundational. And that's the fact
why
that
your body can't handle a damn apple or a Snickers bar once in every blue moon. Like now that I don't think I've eaten a Snickers bar in 20 years, but
I had some Reese's peanut butter cups over Halloween, right? You know,
how did they taste to you? I'm curious. Were they good? No.
No, they actually don't. I think it's nostalgia more than anything. I taste chemicals and things these days.
I do too. Well, see, that's the thing. Like I had, it wasn't Reese's, but it was, I think it was like a Twix bar because I love Twix bars.
Yeah.
And I had a Twix. I had like one of the little mini Twixes. I don't know where I was, but it was during Halloween. There's candy everywhere. I was like, oh, I'm going to try one of these. Just gross. Like it wasn't this. I remember loving these things as a kid, in the 90s growing up, delicious. But now I'm like, ugh, this is not very good.
No, it's not. I think it was more the nostalgia than anything, but we had this, I was explaining this to you, Sarah, last week. Right. But so we had this long unexpected road trip last week. And my husband, we stopped off at a Buc-ee's. You know what a Buc-ee's is?
Mm-hmm.
It's like big thrill on the road trip for the family to stop off at a Buc-ee's. And, my husband shows up in the car with with Reese's peanut butter cups. And he was like, well, don't you want one? And I'm like, I can easily take it or leave it. Like don't get me wrong. I love, like, for me, organic peanut butter. I love it. Like I can take a good scoop every once in a while, or for me, a good quality dark chocolate every once in a while. But like
that's my weakness. Yeah.
But that chemical laden combination, to me, it's just like, I'm not that interested anymore. Where I used to, like, that used to be my, frankly, like when I was just first starting and even starting off in the circadian stuff, like we were trick-or-treating with kids, and one of the kids we were trick-or-treating with, he was allergic to peanuts. And I was like, hey, can I have all your Reese's peanut butter cups? Right? Like, I mean, so I used to actually be like, yeah, I get to devour these. And now I'm just kind of like, ooh.
Yeah. It's weird, since we've been on the, organic foods and just trying to stay away from processed foods and the packaged foods, we do buy a little bit of like organic dark chocolate every now and then to have. And you get accustomed to that and that being like delicious. And then when you try a Reese's peanut butter cup or a Twix bar or Snickers, you're like, oh my gosh, because you're kind of accustomed to eating, the lower sugar, more natural, not to even say that those have a health halo or anything like them.
Right.
But I
just find it cool to taste chemicals. Like, is that weird to say? I think it's really cool. Like that my body is just like, oh yeah, that is not natural.
Yeah. And this is like a larger conversation of just the more you change your lifestyle with light environment, with your food, with your water, because I can't drink regular bottled water now.
Tap water.
Tap water, I can't do it. I'm just like, I will go thirsty. At someone's house, and I'm like, do you have water? And they start pouring from the sink. I'm like, oh my God, no.
Oh no. We're bougie water drinkers.
No, I'm not that way. I don't ever want to make anyone feel bad. I'll just, I'm good.
Yeah. Or like, like I still will. We were at Universal Studios and it was hot as heck, and you can't find good quality water in there, and you can't bring your own stuff. So sometimes
you got to do what you got to do. You don't want to get
do what you got to do. Yeah,
pass out. But
at the same time, as soon as we got back home or back to the hotel room, even, it was just like, and I could actually get the good quality stuff or make her try to reconstitute the good quality stuff while traveling, it's so much better, so much tastier.
Yeah, I try to go and find whenever we travel to Florida, which we usually have Publix grocery stores, you know, here in the South. And you can almost always find Mountain Valley spring water in glass. That's
Gerolsteiner. I love Gerolsteiner. And if I don't want the carbonation, I just open it up and let it, you know, get the carbonation out.
See, I didn't think about that because I don't get it because I don't want to drink carbonated water all the time.
Yeah.
But that's
I can just let it go flat. Bye bye carbon dioxide.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny how that happens with your taste buds. Like, and I've seen people say that, oh, the more you eat real food, the more everything else tastes like chemicals. And it is true. I think you do kind of, there's just like light, you know, you go into my first, because I don't really go to stores, honestly. I try to stay out of malls, stores. I just don't, I don't like it. But I've had to go to Target. I think I had to go to Target for a birthday party just to get a last minute gift. I know it's not the best place to go, but first time I went into a Target after I had really been doing circadian biology and really doing a lot of natural sunlight, blocking blue light at night, I almost threw up. Like I had a headache from going into a Target store from all the lights. It was shocking.
And they're flickering, right? It's not just the lights, but they're flickering and Yeah, but but I would say the cool part about that is I have noticed resilience with that as well. Whereas I choose to not. Like my biggest nightmare still is the lighting department at Home Depot. Like I choose not to go. Right? Or Menards. You guys have Menards. Like I choose not to go into those types of, stores and their lighting departments. But yeah, while I'm aware of the lighting being garbage, if it's during the day, it doesn't bother me anymore. And so it's like, again, like a hormetic response. It's like, okay, I know it's not good. I can tolerate it. You won't catch me going in there at night though, without, glasses.
Oh no. Yeah. I don't leave the house at night if I don't have to.
I try not to. I had a kid who sprained her ankle and I had to go get a wrap from Walgreens. It was like 5:00 in the morning and I'm like, getting there. Like I got my crazy glasses on, it's I know my orange ones. I know. It's like, but you do what you got to do. And frankly, people appreciate uniqueness even more these days than they ever did. So no one thinks anything of it. Like, honestly, back in the day where I used to be like, I can't wear those orange glasses. Someone's going to think I'm weird. No one cares.
No one cares. People really don't care. They don't care at all. They're just like, whatever, to each their own. We don't care.
The only time I've had it being an issue is if I'm going through TSA early in the morning and I don't have, and it's like they would want me to take, but other than that, not a big deal.
I brought the mini cosmic tower because I went to Miami last year for a podcast and I went to Texas for a podcast and Sarah had left the mini cosmic tower and I brought that through TSA and they were like, what the heck is this thing?
What did you say? An interdimensional harmonizing bridge.
My traveling charm. Something like that. It's just a traveling charm. It's just to bring good luck. And they were like, okay.
Yeah. I had the analemma one for me. They were like, we can't test that water. What is that? I said, I'm going to a conference where I'm teaching all about water and that helps structure the water. I don't know. The lady, I think she just was too embarrassed to ask what structured water was. She's like, oh yeah. Okay. She just passed it right on through. So
I know it's have you done the thing where you tell them your water is medical grade water? I still haven't done that.
To me, I got 3 kids to pack and get through security and to get my own stuff. Like I don't want God bless you, Isabel. God bless you, Tracy. I so appreciate you paving the way for that. But for me, my whole thing is that I won't even bring my glass MEA bottles anymore, but I will just bring, and this does get dinged every once in a while because it's a strong magnet, but I'll bring my MEA through. And then again, I'll just try to find 2 bottles of water that I can then just, do my thing with, do my vortexing and structuring with. But, that's about as I'm trying to simplify things. And this, stuff like this, I'm carrying so much luggage. It's not my own. I don't need my water.
With the kids.
Raid water.
I know when I went to both of those trips, I did bring the little mini cosmic tower, brought my analemma wand, brought my battery operated Boncharge. Like there were a few things that I brought. And now when we go to Texas, cause you and I are both.
Yeah.
Going
What
to
are you
Texas,
bringing to Alex? I was going to ask you that.
it's in 1 month. I'm so not ready for that yet. I don't even have clothes to wear. I've been trying like organic clothing because everyone's just on,
I
you
like
know, all my
Toad and
t-shirts.
Co. Do you like Toad and Co?
No, I haven't tried that one. I've tried two that people have recommended, and I found them to both be uncomfortable, overpriced, and cheap. I'm like, I am not a fan of either of these because I got a bunch of recommendations from my community, and so I tried Mate the Label because everyone freaks out about Mate.
Yeah, but those are expensive.
I did not like them. I did not like them at all. The leggings, they were not comfortable.
Which one did my mom friend? She sent me one that I want to try. They looked super comfortable. Oh, I will find it for you. Hang on a second.
Blue Canoe is the other one I tried.
Blue Canoe. Okay.
Their joggers are really cute, but they're like pajamas. They were like $80 pajamas. I can't wear these joggers in public because I wear joggers every day.
Yeah.
I can't wear those in public. And then the leggings I bought, they were like $80. And if I bend over in those things, you're going to see everything. So we're not wearing those. Those are not to go in public. The tank top is cute. I can wear the tank top. But all my shirts are from Gap and they're 100% cotton. I know Gap is not.
And if you wash, I feel like if you wash them enough and I'm not an issue with that. Have you heard of Groceries?
Mm-mm.
Vegetable dyed something like clothing, leggings. I mean, $50 to $60 leggings as opposed to like $150 leggings, right? And so I mean,
it's a label I was very kind of disappointed with, honestly.
It's a bummer. My favorite.
I don't really wear leggings anymore anyway, though. I just don't. They're not comfortable. I don't really like them.
And I have them on right now, but in the summer, like. In this, me, I wear my packed leggings in the winter, but which are
those are I feel like
better.
The packed wear out really quickly because I have some packed stuff too. And
but the benefit is that they're only like $30 to $40. So it's like, you're not spending like Lululemon money on them.
No.
So, but in terms of, hey everyone, you didn't know that this was going to be a conversation about clothing. We're just trying to figure out our attire for Confluence.
Food, and now we're going to talk about organic clothes.
Organic clothing. No, I forget what I was going to, in the pack. Oh yeah, my mom outfit, but like, I don't really want to wear this to the conference because I don't know if I'm going to be up on stage or not, but I love skirts, and the Toad & Co has the cutest, most comfortable skirts ever. But like, again, if I'm up high, I don't need people to like, looking at the wrong angle.
I bought a pair of these cute like harem pants from them last year that I'm thinking
those would be cute.
Just trying to find, because I wear those I have a ton of Gap tank tops and t-shirts. Mm-hmm. A lot of them have worn out, but those are 100% cotton if we're talking about like not wanting to wear plastic clothes or,
Exactly.
I try to keep my underwear, bras, non-underwire, organic cotton.
All of those are packed for me. They're super easy.
I can't remember the one that I found because packed bras, my body does not like those. I found one that I'm really like. I think it's called Third Love. I'm not sure, but it's non-underwire, organic.
I'm taking notes. So sorry. All these companies I had to check out right when we got off of here.
I know I got to find some stuff to wear because I like literally wear my joggers and like cotton t-shirts and tank tops around here and shorts. I don't go many places, honestly.
I don't either. I got my Nike shirt on today just because it's a pretty color, but it's definitely not anything but synthetic. That's for sure.
We want to talk a little bit about why we both use more red light therapy in the winter really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Come summer, it is so easy for me to pop outside for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, take the clothes off and just soak up the natural light, right? And I know you do. I know you do the same. And it's beautiful because we're getting all of those red and near infrared wavelengths from the sun and imparting all those healing benefits from sunlight. But come, November, December in Michigan, there's very little opportunity for me to do that. It's just too cold, and so I'll go outside and get my light signaling through my eyes, but my skin really, that infrared and red that I want to absorb through my skin is just lacking. And so that's why I would highly recommend, if you live in an environment like that, you consider using a red light therapy panel in the winter. It can be the biggest game changer.
Yeah. And we both love the Boncharge Mini. This is super convenient. You can take it with you traveling. You guys don't know, when I'm recording the podcast, half the time I have it on my low back or somewhere in my body to mitigate some of this blue light. And for the months of November and December, you can use the code QuantumPod25 for November and December only to get 25% off the panel or anything on the Boncharge website. Carrie and I are both big fans.
Yeah. And one more thing really quickly with that. It's a great gift too, right? If you want to start getting people involved in this lifestyle and say it's the most convenient way, if there's a mom that you know who needs to tend to boo-boos and aches and pains for kids, or earaches, tummy aches, sore throats, it's a phenomenal gift to give as well, because it really can wipe away pain very fast.
I love it. All right, check it out. Link is in the show notes. I feel like the synthetic conversation, it matters more if in the summer, that's why I bought a whole bunch of cotton tank tops and cotton shorts. And that's all I wore last summer, was just the cotton tank tops and shorts. And they weren't cute or stylish. It was just comfortable.
Well, and we talked about this because I think I destroyed the skin on my legs from the 15 years I was teaching fitness classes in synthetic leggings.
Yeah, same.
And just all those think about all those microplastics too. That was probably just destroyed the collagen and the dye, the glyphosate, and exactly.
Yeah. So. I feel like my legs, because people are always like, how did you get rid of all the, because I was diagnosed with lipedema. And so I had really uncomfortable, heavy fat in my legs. It's gone. And the only thing I really did differently, I did do carnivore for a while, which I think helped some, but the lipedema almost got kind of worse the second year and more painful. But it was showing my legs to the sun, laying out in the sun, red light therapy, cold. I think the cold therapy actually helped.
I think cold, my skin always feels best when it's I've done a lot of my tanning in the summer, and then we spend 3 weeks on Lake Huron, where it's not cold therapy, but it's 75 degree water, right? It's cold enough where it's just it tones the skin in such a nice way.
It does. It really does. And that's what I did. Because I took some pictures last summer, and people are like, oh my God, how did you get your legs to change so dramatically? And it was really laying out in the sun and getting my legs tan. And then directly after I would tan myself, I'd jump into my forge. And I keep that thing at 45, 50. That's tip. I don't go colder than that. I don't see a need to. And I only stay in there 3 minutes. And that honestly did the trick for me. And my legs are not perfect. I still have loose skin. There's a thing called camera angles, and I'm not going to show you guys everything because I'm already vulnerable enough online, and I don't need to showcase all my imperfections.
Stop showing my feet on Instagram.
Oh my God. I don't even want to know. Insane asylum online. It's completely insane. And I poked the bear with my Apple post. I know that I was poking the bear, and I paid for it. I had all the carnivores coming and trolling me. But I kind of it's just absurd. It's completely absurd. Wow. And I did a video with one of my coaches, Chris, on my main channel, talking about repeat versus carnivore. And good God, did everybody come out of the woodwork for that video, arguing about
for repeat, anti-repeat, carnivore, not carnivore.
Pro-repeat, pro-carnivore. And me and Chris are neither. Okay. Maybe there's value for different methodologies for different people for different times, but we're not preaching straight and narrow anything. But yeah, I had one comment was completely hilarious. And she's like, Jet Cruz stole everything he knows about light from repeat. I'm like, I missed that completely. Missed that.
Same. I'd love to read about Ray Peat's light information. He's had a little bit about light, but not the same extent that Dr. Cruz has put out. So interesting, very interesting.
I don't know.
But
I
then,
don't have any.
but then, I mean, Dr. Cruz can be very divisive and stuff. Like, I just feel like,
Right.
I
don't have a guru. I don't have somebody who I go and read all of their blogs and base all of my information.
And parrot stuff, right?
No, that's that's what was going on a lot in the comments under that video, is just parroting stuff. I'm like, And I had somebody that said, when I was doing a post about protein, that they get most of their protein from dairy because meat has tryptophan and that blocks the thyroid. And I was like, but are we riding backwards on a bicycle to have this logic? Where are you getting this? It was Ray Peat. Like, actually, meat has tyrosine. If you are a person who's going into sunlight, you have other pathways to metabolize tryptophan. Yeah, I was very confused.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it is a naturally occurring amino acid consumed in a whole foods form,
right,
in appropriate amounts seasonally,
right.
I don't know. It gets too complicated. That following that line, it just gets too complicated for me.
Yeah,
I'd much rather read about the quantum electrodynamics of water than talk about food in that capacity.
It's so boring to me. It's so boring to me, and it just, people get so mad about it though.
Like, I know.
They get so mad, and I don't know. It just isn't helpful. It's really not helpful. But then what makes me the most angry is the people that come to my groups or the people that I work with, and they're really scared.
They've been harmed. They've been harmed by that aggressive, polarizing information. Mm-hmm.
That's what got me so mad about this half of an apple thing, because I can see that causing a lot of disordered eating, because I was terrified to eat a freaking apple after I'd been carnivore for 2 years. Terrified. I remember the first time I ate an apple after I had been carnivore for 2 years, and I actually felt guilty. I actually felt like I was hurting my body. And now, knowing what I know and going through what I've gone through, I'm like, oh man, I wish I could go give that girl a hug and tell her that it's okay, that an apple is the least of her worries.
Yeah. So that let's talk. Okay, let's go into that, kind of like what we were talking about too, with this information in terms of like, what's the ideal time to eat an apple? Well, that could depend on the time of day, right? So let's give some people some context about time of day and maybe insulin sensitivity.
Yeah. So insulin sensitivity is more so in the beginning part of the day. And as we get through towards the end of the day, it goes down. And so does our gut microbiome function. So are the digestive enzymes and the stomach acid production. So everything runs on a circadian rhythm. Your insulin sensitivity, leptin, melatonin, cortisol, gut microbiome.
Yeah. Thyroid hormone. Yeah.
Thyroid hormone. Yeah. I did a post about that over the weekend, and the circadian rhythm of the thyroid and how different parts of thyroid hormone go at certain parts of the day. They wind down. It's every single process in your body has a circadian clock in front of it. And so when it comes to things like apples, I would probably be more apt to eat that towards the middle part of the day. That's when you're a bit more insulin sensitive. Your body can break down these things. Your gut microbiome is better at breaking down fiber towards that middle part of the day. You've got more digestive enzymes. So that's when I usually, if I'm going to eat fruit, it's usually towards that middle part of the day. And definitely early afternoon. If I'm going to eat it in the later part of the day, it's going to be early afternoon, 3 o'clock. And then I'm not really going to eat a ton of like simple sugar fruit type of stuff after 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just not going to do that.
Well, right. One of the most surprising things for me when I flipped from being an early morning intermittent faster, like skipping breakfast and even lunch and eating maybe in a 2 to 6 o'clock window, 2 to 7 o'clock window.
Yeah.
I was shocked at, like we've talked about, I was shocked at how my appetite was so regulated when I switched to a breakfast window.
Yeah. Yes.
And so when it's so funny because, you know, my husband's a bigger dude and things like that. You know, I got a 13-year-old. He's super active. So like, they'll be like, hey, what do you want to make? Like, what do you want to make for dinner? It's like 6:30 at night. Like, what should we have for dinner? And I'm like, dude, I had my last meal at
Done for the
3:30
day.
and I am so satisfied right now. Like,
You don't
I'll
eat.
sit with you, I'll sip some tea. Like, like in
Right.
terms of food, I am not hungry. And so, of course I'll make my family dinner. I'll help them make dinner together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so surprising that when you nourish your body early, the idea of an apple at like 7 o'clock at night is just unheard of for me. And I never would have thought that,
Unappetizing.
because I always needed what I thought was like that bedtime snack, right? I always wanted that bedtime snack
Yes.
because I
Yeah.
hadn't satisfied my nutrition requirements basically early
Right.
on enough in the day.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so the other thing that I got under that post about the apple was that, oh, apple is a fall food. And yeah, technically it is more of a
Sure.
fall food. The apples that I'm getting now in the spring were grown in the fall, to be quite honest with you. And they've been sitting in storage for the winter. So is it the most ideal thing you can have in the spring? Not necessarily, but is it equivalent to eating a piece of chocolate cake? Absolutely not. It's a much healthier choice than, again, eating a Snickers bar, a piece of cake. It's a much better thing, that easier for your body to break this down. And the UV index in the spring and the UV index in the fall is similar. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
and it's increasing. Right now, UV light is increasing. So that means that
right.
the microbiome, our body, our mitochondria, all the light sensors are anticipating an increase in light. And like you
Yeah.
said, with that increase in light comes the potential for different produce to grow. And so it's anticipating this idea that, okay, carbohydrate availability is increasing at this point.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it makes perfect sense that, my body's actually, like we talked about this last week or the week before, my body is starting to crave salads again and
Oh, I just
microgreens.
had one before we got on here. I had a salad with cod and avocado and apple cider vinegar, my homemade ranch. And it was freaking amazing.
It sounds that sounds so good. But like we
Yeah.
said, in the middle of winter, there's no chance that I would
not eat a
cold
salad. I
lettuce.
wouldn't.
No. But that's the
No.
thing. It's like our light sensors are perceiving the fact that these things are starting to grow or have the potential to grow, and we're kind of getting cravings and signaling accordingly. So if the thought of an apple to you repulses you right now, that's another
Don't eat it.
indication. Yeah. But
Yeah.
if you're avoiding it out of fear, well, I mean, to me, that's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
Especially fear
is.
of visceral fat. So I'm assuming that there's a part of that sucrose was fructose in that apple, and the fructose was causing some type of liver in signaling to increase visceral fat deposition, something like that, huh?
I just don't think our bodies are that stupid. I just don't. Eating a piece of cake is different than eating a piece of fruit. It just is. It's not, you've got fiber, you've got these other things that
you've got nutrients, you've got,
there are good nutrients in a natural grown organic apple.
Have some good quercetin. Yeah. I mean, so
right.
If, this would be an interesting question to pose to Danny, right? Who is our blood sugar regulation expert friend, Danny Hamilton. And to be like, Danny, so if someone's blood glucose shoots up uncontrollably after eating an apple, is that because the apple is bad or because there's some underlying blood glucose dysregulation going?
Yeah. And that's what I'm working on my Quantum Nutrition 2.0 course right now. And I have a whole blood sugar like mini course in there with a worksheet and like hypoglycemia, what that looks like, how to deal with it. And it doesn't mean that the food is inherently bad. It just means that metabolically you're not healthy right now and you're not flexible right now. And we need to work on your metabolic resiliency. And it's not that you're never going to ever be able to eat that food ever again. It's that we have work to do. And so, maybe we need to avoid it for a bit of time here. And the blood sugar thing is so individual, and there's so many other factors that go into it. I mean, where did you eat the apple? Did you eat it in front of the TV? Did you eat it while looking at your phone? Because that is going to impact your glucose tolerance. That blue light is definitely going to impact your glucose tolerance. What time of day?
And the non-native EMFs from the phone too, right?
Right. Non-native EMF, blue light, all of those things are going to decrease your glucose tolerance. So I would be curious if you eat an apple after you've had maybe some protein and fat. Let's say you had a meal like I had for lunch today, the cod salad, and then you go outside after you've had protein and fat and you have the apple and you sit in the grass in the sunshine and eat it. I wonder if you would have, and we've got a UV index of like a 6 here today. Would you have the same response to it? I'd be curious because all these other things impact how well your body utilizes the food for fuel, and how insulin sensitive or leptin sensitive you are. And it's not just this food is bad. This food's going to ruin, cause metabolic dysfunction. And it's so much bigger than that.
Yeah. And to take this a step further in terms of highlighting the light environment, go back and listen to our conversation with Glenn Jeffrey.
Right? Yeah.
If you're eating,
light.
especially in the morning, right? If you've had that, with nature, we would have had that natural, really dominant red infrared time in the morning to precondition our mitochondria to be healthier, so that if we did come across a source of glucose or fructose, right, we'd be able to essentially utilize it more efficiently for fuel than had we not been exposed to those red and near infrared frequencies. And these days, the vast majority of people are never exposed to adequate red and near infrared because modern lighting completely omits it. So again, like a lot more, I think, no pun intended, low-hanging fruit to deal with than the fruit itself.
It's true. I don't know. I hate people being afraid of the wrong stuff, and worrying about the wrong things. We have much bigger fish to fry, so to speak, than half of an apple.
It goes back, and this goes back to the nature of social media, right? The nature of social media is that you get divisiveness, gets you clicks and impressions and comments, and it, essentially just puts the algorithm in your favor, which is why, you and I think we don't spin fear. If anything, I see you trying to debunk fear in your stuff, because the body will never heal in a state of fear. And so I don't care if you're eating the cleanest stuff, purest stuff, but if you are perpetually afraid of putting the wrong thing into your body, the body cannot heal. And so go talk to Irene Lyon, right, about how that affects your nervous system. If you're in this perpetual state of fear, the body will not be able to support true healing. So, I mean,
yeah. And I feel like there have been studies done, I need to pull these, but where they basically were eating the food, and while they were eating the food, they were afraid that it was unhealthy, that it was going to cause weight gain, and that they had a specific idea of the food of being like a health, the opposite of health promoting. And they tested the metabolic response and it was poor. And then people had the same food, but they were told it was health promoting and like it was going to, reverse age them, this, that, and the other. And it was the same exact food. And they actually had a positive metabolic response to that same exact food. Like I know there have been studies
the
like
placebo effect is real 100%.
Yeah.
The study that I saw most recently that I could kind of corresponds to this is they gave two groups of individuals a milkshake, and they told one group of individuals, right, that it was highly satiating, and they told the other group it wasn't. And so the group that they were told it was going to be really filling and highly satiating, that group ended up feeling full and not wanting additional food. Whereas the other group where they were like, yeah, this is not super filling, not super satiating, just a nice light milkshake, they wanted more food. And so there is the power of suggestion, and placebo is really, really powerful.
Yeah, exactly. There's always that element that I think has to do with the water network of the body at the end of the day, because what are the cells in your body expecting? How is the water structuring around all of that to bring that in and utilize it, let it be used by the body? There is an emotional or somatic piece to all of that as well. So when we talk about the quantum biology aspect of our nutrition, that can't be left off the table.
100%. I agree with you on that.
So if somebody is scaring you about the wrong things, then I know we've said this before, but just don't pay it any mind,
And the best advice, right? We say this time and time again, even with what Sarah and I say, take what resonates, leave the rest, and move
Right.
on and integrate it into your own unique plan for you. And there's stuff, and I have many a times revisited stuff that originally didn't resonate with me. Something
Right.
else resonated with me, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay. And then I went back to, I'm like, well, let me listen again or read this again. And I picked up a little something else. And life is all kind of
Mhm.
like this journey of collecting your own toolbox. And if you
Exactly.
can find the goal is to find the tools that work best for you. It's not going
Mhm.
to be someone else that can give you the exact protocol that's going to work best for you.
Exactly. You've got to figure it out for yourself. And that takes, some not plugging everything into chat GBT and not having 25 people that you follow and have a guru. That was how I responded to that comment of the person that was like, oh, Jack Cruz learned everything he knows about life from repeat. I was just like, first of all, this comment is stupid. Second of all, don't get gurus. Don't have gurus. You're going to get disappointed. If you live and die by somebody else's blogs and what someone else has said, not to say that there's no value that either of these people have put out into the world. They both have put out a lot of value, a lot of great information. However, I don't have anyone who I say this person is the be all end all that I worship, there's no human that I am willing to do that with. You can't outsource your own innate wisdom. You can't outsource your health to other people constantly. You can look at other people and their work as a guide and say that might be helpful and that resonates, but don't hang on every word of somebody. Don't make somebody your God. Like that's just a really quick way to be very disappointed. And what happens when you find out that this person isn't what you thought they were? You know,
Right.
how does that ruin everything for you? How does that shake your world? As I've seen that happen so many times in the health
Yeah.
world, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The other aspect about this too is that the Dunning-Kruger effect is real,
Mm-hmm.
where
Oh,
people find a
that was that
guru.
whole damn comment section too. I was like,
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like people. I was guilty of this at first, right? When you first learn
too.
something and you're like, "Wow, new information. Let me digest as much as I can," and you think you've learned a lot, and then you think
Everything.
you're the world's expert, and you realize, and then as you continue your learning, and you realize, oh my gosh, the learning is endless, right? There's so much complexity. You kind of almost hit rock bottom, and you're like, I don't know anything. I can't teach anything anymore. I know nothing because of all this stuff that I don't know. But it's
Right.
humbling in a way where you don't act like that anymore. And you say, and you're like, wow, there's so much more nuance and complexity to this than I ever thought possible. Let me think
Correct.
and reframe how I respond and how I communicate.
Yeah. And I try to be respectful of other people. Like I was nice and respectful in those comments to the best of my ability because I understand that's where they are in their journey right now. And not that I'm like up here and you're down there. Like I don't view anything or anyone that way. It's just like you're at where you're at with this information and your journey. You're going to have to learn or not that you can't outsource these things. And when you start working with people, that was my humbling moment. Number one, I started having my own
Mm.
problems. But number two, when I was working with people and time again, I would get the same sort of issues. I'm like, okay, maybe this is bullshit.
Well, there's no
Maybe,
one answer for everyone, right?
right.
Out of every person who responds beneficially, so out of the 97 people out of every 100 who respond beneficially to blue light blockers at night, you get the three. One gets a
Three.
headache, one gets
Mhm.
insomnia, and one feels like it's harming their eyesight. And you're like,
Mhm.
okay, those three are amazing learning experiences to be like, okay, the majority of people respond beneficially, but there's always an exception, and let's figure out how to troubleshoot that exception.
Yeah. How do we help this person instead
Mhm.
of saying they're lying and like, let's gaslight them and be like, you're full of it. Like, how do we help them?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you and
It's
I come
humbling.
from.
It's so humbling.
It is. Yeah. Sometimes I don't know.
I know. Sorry, that's all I got.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody is at that place where they know everything. I just haven't met that person who is they might have an answer for everything, but how well it actually can be practically implemented across every single situation. I've yet to find a person that is that talented, but maybe they are there. Maybe I just
Maybe
don't
they're
know
out
of
there.
them.
Certainly,
I'm sure they're
certainly.
out in there in the comments somewhere. What is that one? What is there's this meme that was going around a few years ago, and it was it was a cartoon of someone being wheeled into an ambulance, and they were like, "Where are you going?" And like, "Oh, we're going to the comment section," because They have all the answers of how to help this person who's dying right here. We're wheeling them to the comment section.
It's so true, though. It is so true.
They all
but
know.
it is. It's
Oh,
okay.
no.
It's okay.
That's how we learn. That's how we learn, though.
Yeah.
We learn from talking to other people and hearing other experiences. But yeah, it's wild.
But I choose not to spend a ton of my time in the comment section.
No, when I do, it inevitably always ruins my day every time. Like,
well, because you have to then come up with like 3-paragraph, beautifully worded answers like you did for that one response, but that just takes up way too much time.
Yeah, I'd rather spend the time in my community or with my family or friends.
Oh, in nature.
Out in a field somewhere, in the woods. That would be much better time spent, honestly.
A beautiful bubbling brook.
Yeah. Yeah.
It actually
Much
would,
better
right? That actually feels much better.
Yeah, that sounds really nice, actually.
Anything else today?
Yeah, I don't think so. I feel like we've talked about a wide array of things.
Yeah, I need these last 20 minutes to look at those clothing brands before I have to go take my daughter to guitar lessons now.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm still researching. I got to find some stuff to wear because our trip is in like a month. So I'm on the hunt. So I'll keep you posted.
Keep me posted. I'll do the same.
I will. All right. We'll see you guys next week.